In A2 Economics today, we'll be discussing methods of government intervention in chapter number 8. In chapter number 8, we have the following topics along with the labor market. Labor market we have already covered, so we'll be discussing Lorenz Curve, Gini Coefficient, Kuznets Curve. First of all, let's differentiate between income and wealth. Income is the earning of an individual over a given period of time. For example, monthly salary or monthly earning or income of a person. And wealth is the accumulation of assets in the ownership of an individual. For example, the bank balance of the individual, the cash in hand, the property, gold in the ownership of an individual, that is called wealth. One of the government objective is equal distribution of income and wealth. If government wants to decrease income inequality, first of all, government has to measure income inequality. How can government measure inequality in the distribution of income or wealth in a country? There are three methods. Number one is Lorenz Curve. Number two is Gini Coefficient. And number three is Kuznets Curve. Why to measure inequality of income or wealth distribution in a country? The reason is government can use steps to achieve its objective of equal distribution of income or wealth, and government can reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, and government can use policies to redistribute income and wealth from rich to poor. And one of the method which government normally uses is progressive taxation. Higher taxes are paid by rich people, and those taxes will be the revenue of government, and then government will spend money on the poor, so that will be a kind of redistribution of income and wealth to reduce income inequality. So let's discuss the first topic, which is Lorenz Curve. Lorenz Curve is the graphical representation of income distribution or wealth distribution in a country. It was developed by an American economist, Max Lorenz, in 1905. One of the macroeconomic objective of government is equal distribution of income or wealth, and in order to achieve that objective, in order to take steps, government has to first measure income inequality in the country, and that is measured with the help of Lorenz Curve. So Lorenz Curve is used to measure inequality of income distribution or wealth distribution in a country. Now let's see how to make Lorenz Curve. In order to make Lorenz Curve, we need some data, and let's consider this table. In the first column, we have cumulative percentage of households. The first class here is called empty class, and empty class is added just to start the Lorenz Curve from origin. This is the first 20% of the population. This is the next 20% of the households. Again, the next 20%, next 20%, and next 20%. So whole population is divided into 5 categories. Each category or each class is of 20%. Ideally speaking, if there is equal distribution of income or wealth in the country, then all of these people will be having same percentage of income. All of these will be having 20% of income. Nobody will be rich, nobody will be poor. So that is an ideal situation. But that ideal situation is not true in most of the countries. In most of the countries, there are poor people, there are rich people. Rich people have more percentage of income, and poor people, they have less percentage of income. So for example, let's suppose that the poorest 20% people, they have only 5% of the income, and the next 20% has 10% of the income, the next 20% they have 15% of the income, and the next 20% category has 20% of the total income of the country, and the last 20% who are the richest people, they have 50% of the overall income of the country. So these people are the poor people, these people are the richest people in the country. Now what we have to calculate is cumulative percentage of income. So we start from the first value, it is 0. 0 plus 5 is equal to 5. It is just like we are calculating cumulative frequency. 5 plus 10, that will be equal to 15. 15 plus 15, that will be equal to 30. And 30 plus 20, that will be equal to 50. And 50 plus 50, that will be equal to 100. Now we have to plot cumulative percentage of households on x-axis and cumulative percentage of income on y-axis. On x-axis, we have cumulative percentage of households, and on y-axis, we have cumulative cumulative percentage of income. In order to draw Lorenz curve, we'll plot this graph, but for comparison, we need 45-degree line, which is called the line of equality. So first of all, we'll draw 45-degree line. This is called line of equality. Line of equality shows this ideal condition when everyone in the country has equal distribution of income. So income is equally distributed in the country. So lowest 20%, they have 20% of the income. Highest 20%, they have also 20% of the income. So there is equal distribution of income in the country, and that income equality is shown by 45-degree line or line of equality. So if we see this, the lowest 20% will have 20% of the income, and the next 20% they will also have this 20% of the income. So that line shows an ideal situation which government is trying to achieve. So that line of equality is the objective of government. And now we'll plot Lorenz curve. In order to plot Lorenz curve, we will take upper class limit from every class in the cumulative percentage of households, and we'll plot it against cumulative percentage of income. So 0 will be plotted with 0. So that will be the first point. Next point will be plotted by taking this upper class limit of the second class, which is 20, and plotting it against 5. So this will be the second point. See, this second point is cumulative percentage of households 20, which is the upper class limit of the cumulative percentage of households, and on y-axis we have taken 5% value, which is this value. The next value will be plotted by taking this 40 and 15. So 40 and 15 will be this point. Next point will be 60 and 30. Next point will be 80 and 50, and the next point will be 100 with 100. Now by joining all these points, we'll get Lorenz curve. Now this Lorenz curve shows income inequality. Let's discuss few points about Lorenz curve. Let's consider this area as area A and this area as area B. If Lorenz curve is away from 45-degree line, it shows higher inequality in income distribution. The greater the distance from 45-degree line, the higher will be inequality in income distribution. And if Lorenz curve will be closer to 45-degree line, that will show less inequality in the income distribution. Area A shows income inequality. The greater this area A and the smaller the area B, the higher will be income inequality. The greater the area A, the greater the inequality in the distribution of income in a country. And if area A will be smaller, that will show less inequality in the distribution of income or wealth. The smaller the area B, if this area A will be greater, this area B will be smaller. The smaller the area B, the greater the inequality in the distribution of income in a country. So that is Lorenz curve. Now we can use Lorenz curve for comparison of income distribution between countries. Now let's suppose we have cumulative percentage of households on x-axis, cumulative percentage of income on y-axis. This is 45-degree line or line of equality, and let's suppose this is the Lorenz curve for country X and this is Lorenz curve for country Y. Now we can compare these two Lorenz curves and we can see that Lorenz curve for country X, LCX, this Lorenz curve is closer to 45-degree line, and this shows lower inequality in the distribution of income in country X as compared to country Y. Now Lorenz curve of country Y, LCY, is away from 45-degree line as compared to the Lorenz curve of country X, and this shows higher inequality in the distribution of income in country Y. So Lorenz curve can be used to compare inequality in the distribution of income and wealth between countries. We can also use Lorenz curve for comparison of income distribution over the period of time for the same country. So cumulative percentage of households, cumulative percentage of income, 45-degree line or line of equality. And now let's draw first Lorenz curve LC1 and second Lorenz curve LC2. Let's assume that this Lorenz curve is showing 1 year and this is showing another year, and Lorenz curve of the same country is shifting away from 45-degree line. Initial Lorenz curve for country X is LC1, which is closer to 45-degree line, and hence it shows lower inequality in the distribution of income in country X. Here we have taken country X, here it is country X, so it is the same country. So these two curves are drawn for the same country, which is country X. This is for year 1, consider it for 2019. This is for year 2, consider it for 2020. So over the period of 2019 to 2020, Lorenz curve has shifted away from 45-degree line. So final Lorenz curve of country X is Lorenz curve 2, which is away from 45-degree line as compared to LC1. So it shows higher inequality in the distribution of income in country X. So we can say that compared to 2019, in 2020, the inequality in the distribution of income and wealth is increased in country X over the period of this time. So over the period of time, maybe due to economic growth, because economic growth can also lead to income inequality that we'll discuss in Kuznets Curve topic. Lorenz curve is shifted away from 45-degree line, leading to higher income inequality in country X. Now, Lorenz curve has certain limitations. The first limitation is it is a graphical representation and hence cannot be used to compare income distribution between many countries. Let's suppose we have to compare income distribution of 100 countries. So if we compare income distribution of 100 countries, we may be having 100 Lorenz curves here. And if we draw 100 Lorenz curve on the same graph will be very congested and it will be very difficult to understand that graph. So it means if we have to compare income distribution between a few countries, then Lorenz curve can be used. But if we have to compare income distribution between many countries, then Lorenz curve is not suitable. Second limitation is it cannot be used to compare income distribution over the period of many years for the same country. Again, the same problem is that we can compare inequality in the distribution of income over the period of few years, for example 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But if we add more number of years, for example 20 years, 50 years, then the graph will be very congested. There will be a lot of Lorenz curves on the same graph, and it will be difficult to really understand that graph. So it will not be a suitable method to compare income distribution over the period of many years. Next, the magnitude of difference between inequality of distribution cannot be compared by using Lorenz curve. For example, if we have two Lorenz curves for two different countries, and if we have this 45-degree line, and if we have two Lorenz curves 1 and 2, Lorenz curve 1 and Lorenz curve 2, this is 45-degree line, then we cannot compare the magnitude of difference in numeric terms, how much unequal distribution is there in second country as compared to the first country. So magnitude of difference cannot be compared by using Lorenz curve because it is not a numerical value. If Lorenz curve is used for measuring income inequality, then government cannot have a numeric target for redistribution of income. So these are the limitations of Lorenz curve. In order to overcome these limitations, another method is used to measure income inequality, which is more popular, and that is called Gini Coefficient. Now, Gini Coefficient is a number which is used to measure inequality in the income distribution in a country. That is called Gini Coefficient. This is also called Gini ratio or Gini index. There is a formula to calculate this. The formula is area between 45-degree line and Lorenz curve divided by area below 45-degree line. So if we have Lorenz curve in front of us and we have areas A and B, then area between 45-degree line and Lorenz curve will be area A. Area below 45-degree line will be area A plus area B. So if we have these two areas in numerical form, numerical values of these two areas, then we can calculate the value of Gini coefficient. So area A divided by area A plus area B. If Lorenz curve will be away from 45-degree line. Area A will be greater, but area A plus B will be the same. So due to increase in area A, Gini coefficient will have higher value if Lorenz curve is away from 45-degree line. So higher value of Gini coefficient shows higher income inequality in a country. Value of Gini coefficient can be from 0 to 1. 0 and 1 are ideal values. In real life, values are between 0 and 1. 0 value shows that area A is 0, so there is perfect equality of income distribution in a country. That is an ideal value. 1 means that income of all the country is held by only one person, and all of other people in the country, they are having no income. That is also an ideal value. So in real life, values are between 0 and 1. If income distribution is equal, perfectly equal, area A will be 0 and Gini coefficient will have a value of 0. If all income is with one person and all other people in the country, they have no income, then area B will be 0 and Gini coefficient will be equal to 1. Higher value of Gini coefficient shows higher income inequality. A Gini coefficient of 0.35 indicates a more equal distribution of income than a coefficient of 0.65. Or you can say that a country having Gini coefficient of 0.35 is having less unequal distribution of income as compared to a country having Gini coefficient of 0.65, where there will be more unequal distribution in income in that country. The trend in Gini coefficient is important. Trend means comparing the values of Gini coefficient over the period of time. It indicates whether income distribution is becoming more equal or unequal over the period of time. So for example, if a country A has the value of Gini coefficient in 2017 of 0.45, in 2018 0.4, in 2019 0.35, and in 2020 0.32. So that trend shows decreasing values of Gini coefficient, which shows that unequal distribution of income is decreasing and income is becoming less unequal in the country. According to World Bank statistics of 2008 to 2013, highest Gini coefficient is equal to 0.65 for South Africa, and the lowest Gini coefficient was for Ukraine, which was 0.256. So in the world, from year 2008 to 2013, South Africa was the country with the highest unequal distribution of income and wealth, and Ukraine was the country with the lowest unequal distribution of income and wealth. Pakistan Gini coefficient for 2015 was equal to 0.269, and since it's a numerical value, so government can set a target in terms of Gini coefficient, say 0.25 for the upcoming year. So that is a benefit of having Gini coefficient over Lorenz curve, that Gini coefficient is a numerical value and government can set a numerical target for that. Gini coefficient has limitations. The first limitation is that Gini coefficient is very simple. Extensive data may be needed to calculate Gini coefficient, and two countries with the different income distribution may have the same Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient will tell us the overall income distribution in a country, but if income is unevenly distributed within different categories or different classes of the population, then Gini coefficient may not be able to tell this. Two countries with two different types of income distributions may have the same Gini coefficient, provided that the area between 45-degree line and Gini coefficient is the same. For example, let's suppose we have two countries, country A and country B, and these two countries may be having two different types of income distribution. Let's suppose this is the shape of Lorenz curve in country A, and this portion shows extreme poverty in country A. And let's consider this is Lorenz curve for country B, and let's assume that this area is area X and this area is area Y, and area X and area Y, they both are equal. So both the countries will be having the same Gini coefficient. But you can see here that the shape of Lorenz curve in country A and the shape of Lorenz curve in country B is different, which shows that country A may be having extreme poverty and country B may not be having that much poverty. poverty. So this is the problem with the Gini coefficient, that two countries with the different income distribution may have the same Gini coefficient, provided that the area between 45-degree line and Lorenz curve, those areas are equal. Next we have Kuznets curve. Kuznets curve is a curve that shows the relationship between economic growth and income inequality. Kuznets curve is inverted U-shaped. This is the shape of Kuznets curve. On x-axis we have GDP per head or real GDP per capita, and on y-axis we have Gini coefficient, and this is Kuznets curve. And this Kuznets curve has two parts. This Kuznets curve was developed by American economist Simon Kuznets. Kuznets curve suggests that with economic growth, income becomes more unevenly distributed, and then after a certain income level, income becomes more evenly distributed. Let's suppose this is first part, this is second part. The first part shows that GDP per head is increasing, and along with that Gini coefficient is also increasing. This means that due to increase in Gini coefficient, there will be increase in income inequality in the country. But after certain GDP per head, Gini coefficient will decrease with increase in GDP per head. So there will be less unequal distribution in the country for income after certain GDP per head. Part 1 may be related to less developed countries, LDCs, or developing countries, and part 2 may be related to developed countries. So in less developed countries, if there will be economic growth, there will be higher inequality in the distribution of income, and the value of Gini coefficient will increase. But that is not the same for all LDCs. For most of the less developed countries, with economic growth, there may come income inequality. But in the developed countries, because of their good policies, after certain income level, there will be decrease in Gini coefficient, and there will be less unequal distribution of income in developed countries. But that is not the same for all developed countries. All developed countries are not the same. The curve doesn't explain the rise in income inequality in some developed economies such as UK. UK is a developed country. Over the period of time, there was economic growth in UK. Before COVID, at least, the income inequality was also rising. So I have told you that this curve is not explaining each and every developed country. There may be some exceptions, but for many developed countries, income inequality may decrease because of the effective policies of government. So that's all about today's lecture.